Jimmy, we have to ask one question. Kansas City will win the MLS Cup if?
I score 12 goals. I score 12 goals. I score 12 goals.
Well, true to his word, Jimmy Conrad grabbed 2 goals this past weekend, Shep.
Well, Greg, at this pace, he's on a rate to score 30 goals.
Not bad, and actually by his own math, that means they're going to win the Cup this year and next. Jimmy's big day and much more on Extra Time now. Welcome to ET, everybody. I'm Greg Lala. Shep Messing is riding shotgun as always, and week 2 of the season is in the books. It was a wild and woolly extravaganza, 28 goals, first half red cards. Beckham got a goal on TV even.
His first goal in MLS.
Not bad. Today we're going to break down the Wizards' new magic, take a look at a shootout in South Texas, and tell you who needs to bring their A game this weekend. But we're going to start with a look at the game of the week. Dallas at Houston. Down at Robertson Stadium, big crowd, all dressed in orange, and Shep, the Hoops, they come in and they shot themselves in the foot again. The second week in a row, giving up a late equalizer. This time to Houston rookie Jeff Cameron, ended up 3-3.
And I'll tell you what, Stevie Morrow is going to be sick about this game because on the road, he had the opportunity to close out this game, put it away. And this is the key moment for me. Second half sub, late in the game, they're up a goal. Look at ARTURO, out wide to the left. He's got a teammate, Alvarez, doesn't pass him the ball. Low soccer IQ, mental mistake cost him the game. And now Ricardinho into the game a few minutes later does the same thing. Hey, son, pass the ball. Put the game away. It's not really selfish. It's just lack of vision on the field, and Stevie Morrow's got to be irate about that.
And it makes such a difference. But again, Stevie Morrow also has to take some of the positives out of this game. The big one, of course, Kenny Cooper getting 2 goals. One of them a beautiful little chip over the keeper for Houston. And Arturo Alvarez in his first game of the year looked very sharp, got a goal and an assist, a lovely little pass to Juan Toja that set up the second goal for Cooper.
Well, if you're Dallas, this is what you love. Alvarez, Toja, Kenny Cooper inside of the right foot. Carlos Ruiz gone. Kenny Cooper, he's their target striker, and they have something to build on. I agree with you. Alvarez was terrific. This goal outside the left foot, slots it home. So they have key ingredients in terms of attack.
Well, Alvarez looks like he's in mid-season form. The draw was also an improvement of sorts for Houston, after losing their first game, but they've given up 6 goals in their first 2 games, Shep. And, they've really missed Ricardo Clark in the midfield. That seems to me to be their biggest problem right now.
Well, the goals they've allowed have been shocking. And yes, Ricardo Clark, he's a key element, sweeping in front of the back line. I can tell you what, though, so far you can see why DC United traded away Bobby Boswell. He has not played well.
No, he hasn't. Ricardo Clark comes back from his suspension this weekend, but Houston is going to be without their usual goalkeeper, Pat Onstadt, who went out with an injury in the first half. His replacement, Scotsman Tony CAIG, who joined the Dynamo this offseason, didn't have a very good outing. I doubt his mates are going to buy him a Glenlivet down at the pub or anything. And, it's hard for a goalkeeper to come on cold like that in his first game in MLS, too.
Well, especially because Tony CAIG used to playing in England, Scotland. Maybe if it was cold out and raining, he would have been better. But Tony CAIG is not going to be the problem. I think that's a great signing by Dominic Kinnear as a backup. He's going to do just fine.
Certainly, the experience is huge for CAIG. Now, the other player for Houston that did well was Franco Caraccio, the Argentine former youth international, got his first goal for the Dynamo. Do you think that Caraccio could end up being the second striker that they've been looking for?
Greg, I'd like to see more of him, but what I've seen, I like. Not just his ability to score the goal, his running without the ball. He looks pretty good.
Yeah, he was very active off the ball, getting into the play, helping out when he had to. Houston travels to Kansas City this weekend. Dallas is at home to the New York Red Bulls on Saturday. We'll see if the Hoops can actually play a full 90 minutes this time. 2 games into the season, the Wizards' magic wand seems fully loaded. After an impressive win in their opener against DC, they beat Colorado this past weekend 3-2 on a late Scott Seeley goal. But come on, Shep, the story really has to be Jimmy Conrad. He's had a tough couple of years with injuries, but he scored 2 goals this weekend, and so far this season, his game seems as sharp as his wit.
Yeah, Greg, there's no question. He's the charismatic leader of that team. He'll get forward, score the goals. He also saved one off the line. When he's healthy, he's awesome, and he's got some good teammates now, finally.
Certainly does. He's got Claudio Lopez and Ivan Trujillo, and the guy who set him up for his 2 goals was Carlos Marinelli, the Argentine playmaker. is he set to blossom in the midfield for them?
Greg, I definitely think he is, and it's because of the players you mentioned. When you add a Claudio Lopez, Trujillo, now he's got some guys that he's got a chemistry with, and they also have players like Harrington from the back that will get forward as well. So that's very good going forward.
Yeah, and Jack Jewsbury as well getting into it a little bit. Now, his counterpart, Marinelli's counterpart and compatriot, Christian Gomez for the Colorado Rapids, traded from D.C., and he has looked like a man on a mission. He has something to prove, and he has been awesome in the Rapids midfield.
You talk about this Colorado team, and you always worry a little bit when a big marquee player is traded, what his attitude is going to be. Christian Gomez has come to play. He's their catalyst in the midfield. Think about it, when they get Mastroeni back in the lineup, they might have the best midfield in MLS.
Certainly, with Colin Clark and Terry Cook out there as well. Now, another guy who has something to prove, Juan Carlos Osorio. The Juan Carlos Osorio era in New York got off to a great start, a 2-0 win. The goals weren't great. Juan Pablo Angel missed a PK, but Claudio Reyna, I thought, played pretty well. So did some of the young bucks like Luke Sassano and Kevin Goldthwait. But, Shep, you were most impressed, I think, with Oscar Echeverry, the striker up top.
Yeah, he was a surprise for me. It was Echeverry who used his speed to open up the Columbus back line. He played wide to the left, wide to the right, drew the penalty kick, so pleasant surprise.
And a good win for New York. Now, we would be remiss to not mention the LA-San Jose game from last week. Lots of changes for LA. Mike Randolph in at left back, Landon Donovan pushed to the top, rookie Sean Franklin at center back, and it all paid off with a nice 2-0 win in their home opener.
It was great to see, Greg, because let's face it, if you're the LA Galaxy, you're playing at home, they came out with energy, and really, you have Landon Donovan and David Beckham. They both played extremely well.
And Toronto comes into town, which is only going to boost their confidence if you think about it, right? So let's look at the other side, though, the San Jose Earthquakes. They come out with a loss in their first game. How do you rate their debut?
Well, Greg, I really vacillated between are they awful or terrible. I'm going to go with terrible, but Frankie Yallop will get it right. It does tell you that forget about what happens in preseason where San Jose did well. It doesn't mean anything when the season starts.
Well, they're a new team, and they certainly have a lot of things to get together, the rhythm especially, and they can take some heart that they're pretty much on par with most of the recent expansion teams in MLS as far as their first result is concerned. If you're looking at it, Real Salt Lake drew with the Metro Stars, Chivas USA lost to DC United, and Toronto lost to Chivas USA. In fact, the only team that's ever won their first game as an expansion team is the Chicago Fire, who beat another expansion team, Miami, 2-0 in 1998. Obviously, it's a team game, but certain players have to step up every week. Here are some players we think need to have big games this weekend. Columbus Crew goalkeeper Will Hesmer. He's had 2 saved penalty kicks so far in the first 2 games, but he's looked a little shaky, hasn't he?
I have confidence. I like Hesmer. I think he's got to make up for a defense that's sometimes a little bit lacking, and he's got Chivas coming up. They're going to be a challenge.
They certainly are. Chivas a good team. Another player needs to do well, Kyle Beckerman for the Real Salt Lake. He needs to start creating more, or someone on that team does. Maybe Javier Morales, maybe Andy Williams, but Beckerman's really the key.
I think Beckerman is the key, Greg, because in the midfield, you need one guy who wants the ball, one guy who everybody plays through, and for Real Salt Lake, I think it's got to be Beckerman.
Yeah, he's the guy who can connect the dots in midfield. Finally, Sean Franklin, center back for Los Angeles Galaxy this past weekend. He's fast, he's young. I think he has the speed to deal with Jeff Cunningham's speed this Sunday when Toronto comes into town. And with Abel Xavier coming back from injury, there's a question mark for Ruud Gullit about who plays in there.
Well, I don't think there's any question mark. I'd keep Franklin in. He's young, he's strong, he's fast. You talk about dealing with the speed of Cunningham, I'd keep him in the lineup.
Well, he's hungry as well. This week we're introducing a new feature here on Extra Time, and it's called Shep's Wow Moment of the Week.
And Greg, sometimes it's going to be an awful moment, sometimes a great moment. This week it was superb. LA against San Jose, the second goal, Beckham gets the ball to Landon Donovan. Donovan shows recognition, speed, and a world-class touch. Wow, that's a great goal.
That certainly is. And if you have any comments about what you think should be the wow moment, you can always email us at extratime@mlsnet.com. Now, before we go, just wanted to mention that the 2009 expansion team from Seattle finally has a new, or is it an old, name. After a fan vote, the winner was the Seattle Sounders FC. Shep, what are your thoughts?
Greg, I'm not big on the name game. However, in this case, I love it. In Seattle for 30 years, the tradition, the name has always been Sounders.
Well, a little continuity, a little tradition, and the fans are the ones who chose it. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have this week, but Shep and I will be here next week again, and we'll kick it around.